Hi guys, morning from Northern England. Hope you're all okay and life's treating you well. Welcome back. Samantha here for another video, another tutorial suitable for beginners again. Today I thought we'd look at these really simple frames, really easy to make, and you can sort of make them larger like this one, or really small like these guys. Okay, you can make all sorts of things out of these, literally from these very simple earrings, which I actually think look like light bulbs. How cute are they? You can use them to make little pendants. Here I've got one that I've put a Dalmatian jasper bead in as a pendant. This one has pink tourmaline in. I'm going to be making that into a pendant. I also use these for my polymer clay flower earrings that I make. So this frame here gets encased with some polymer clay halfway down. You can use them in silver, copper, you know, anything you like really. So I use mine to make, this is a Christmas poinsettia one with the same frame. But today I thought we'd use the frame, I'll teach you how to make the frame, and that we would make these lovely beaded earrings with them. I mean, how lovely are they? Okay, so we'll go through a list of the materials that we need to make the frame and also these earrings we're going to be making today. But like I say, you can use this particular frame for all sorts of things. Okay, so I'll just clear all these away. And these are the guys we're going to be making today. Okay, so let's have a think about what we need. So as usual, we're going to be using some 1mm copper wire for the actual frame itself. And we're also going to need some 0.4mm copper wire for the wire wrapping, to wrap the beads on, if you can see. Okay, and obviously we're going to be needing some beads. So today I'm going to be using these gorgeous 3mm, these are called druks actually, they're just little tiny check glass 3mm beads. These got like a beautiful coppery purpley sheen to them, so I'm going to be using those. You're going to be needing some 0.8mm wire for your ear wires. Okay, so you're going to need a ruler just so we can measure out the lengths. As usual, we're going to need our flush cutters, flat nose pliers, chain nose pliers, bail making pliers or round nose pliers, whichever your preference is. You're going to need a mandrel of some kind. You can buy lots of different mandrels that are specific for jewellery making, or you can have a bob and look around your house and see if there's sort of anything straight and cylindrical that you can use. I like to use this, which keeps my yarn needles in them, and I find that this is a really good size for making this particular size of hoop frame. So I should be making mine with this today. Have a mooch around your house. I mean, I've used glue sticks, oh gosh, all sorts of things, old bobbins from cotton, Sharpie pens make a good one. So just have a look, and you don't actually have to spend a fortune in order to get mandrels. You can look around your house and find all sorts of cool things. You're going to also need a basic bench block and a basic chasing hammer, Jaws hammer, just to give, I use the pin ball at the end to give mine a little bit of texture. So see what you have in your jewellery making kit, but you don't actually have to hammer them. You can make them literally without the hammer defect. but the hammer effect looks quite nice. Okay, so this is what we're going to be making today. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll get going. Okay, see you in a couple. Okay, so let's have a look. Take your 1mm bare copper wire. I'm using dead soft here, just because it's easier to work with, I think. And for this size frame, the diameter is, I don't know, about just nearly 2 centimeters, 1 3/4 centimeters, which is just short of 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so for that size, I'm going to be using about 4 inches. Okay, when you start to experiment with the different sizes, you'll be able to work out how much wire you need. But for today, we're just going to use about 4 inches. Okay. Right, so you take your mandrel, whatever it is you're using. You could be using, you know, the larger step on your bail making pliers, or even a ring mandrel would work for this, whatever size you're wanting. Now, I'm right-handed, don't forget, guys, so all of the instructions I give to you here, if you're left-handed, just reverse them. Okay, so carefully and tightly, you bend the wire around your mandrel. One side needs to be slightly longer than the other, okay, because the longer end, you're going to be winding that around to make your wrap. So make one side like so, a bit longer than the other. Okay, so for me, I like to wrap a particular way, so I bend left over right. Okay, as you can see here, this is the kind of situation that we're looking for. So one side is shorter than the other. Okay, so we want to bend this upwards on an angle, about a 90-degree angle. So you come in with your chain nose, and just where the wires meet, bend it upwards to around about a 90-degree angle. Okay, that'll do. Okay, so you've got this. So it's almost like you're making a basic wire wrap bead link, but this is a larger version. Essentially, you're just doing the one side of it. Okay, so this is what we have. You then come in with your flat nose pliers, because you need to really be gripping both halves of this circle so that it doesn't distort when you start to wind and bend your wrap over. So close to the top of the hoop, grasp that quite firmly. Okay, we're going to be hammering it, so don't worry too much about marks. There was a lovely lady who commented on one of my earlier tutorials, and she uses painter's tape around her pliers in order to not mark. And I thought that was a really good tip and not one that I'd heard before. So thank you to you to that subscriber. That was a brilliant tip. Okay, so hold quite firmly. Okay, take your chain nose, and you want to wind and wrap around once and twice. Twice should be enough. I mean, if you wanted a longer neck here, you could do it 3 times, but I think that twice is sufficient. Okay, and this is what you're left with here. Back underneath. Okay, so it's nice and neat. And that's what you're left with. Okay, and here you would use your flush cutters, or for me, I like to use the nail clippers because it gets in nice and closely. Just cut the excess off so that there's no sharp edges, and give just a little smush just to tuck everything in nicely. Okay, there we are. So that's what we're left with. That's our frame. Okay, so at this particular stage, I like I say, I like to give mine, I don't know if you can see it properly, I like to give mine a little bit of texture. So this is where you come in with your bench block. Give it do it properly, you know, fully, because it'll just take too long and you don't really want to be listening to me doing that. Just make sure that it's still a nice circular form, which it is. Okay. Oops. There we are. So that's the frame. What we then need to do is to make our loop at the top. So bend it away from you at an angle, like so. The size loop that I like, I use the first step on my bail making pliers here, and I know that that is around just under 1 centimetre length. So I cut it there. Take your pliers or your round nose and bend in a nice even motion. Okay, oops, let's get that straightened up. There we go. Oh, it's not playing the game today. There we are. Okay, so there we have it. So that's your frame made. Okay, so the next stage of this process here is to use this guy for whatever you want, really. I mean, you can, like I say, I've wrapped a few beads here on it. I've used a larger bead here and wire wrapped a couple of tiny little copper seed beads next to it, and I like these spinner pendants. They're really cute. There's all sorts of things you can use them for. Again, like I say, I use them for I embed them in my earrings when I make my polymer clay earrings. But today we're going to wire wrap some beads, okay? So you need to find your beads, whatever you fancy. So I like these cute little purple beads. I knew that was going to happen, never mind. Okay, and then you want a length of 0.4 millimetre. You do need a decent amount, so I'm going to say about, I don't know, 12 to 14 inches for this particular size. As you're wrapping, you can add wire when you're wrapping, but I find that it's always good to have slightly too much than not enough, because it's a pain having to add wire to your wraps. So I don't know, cut off 12 to 14 inches, okay? You need to secure the wire onto the frame. So for me, I like to go underneath and then over the top. I don't know if you can see this long wire which attaches the bead here. That goes over the top of the frame, okay, rather than underneath, just because I think it looks a bit neater. So in order to do that, you would place the wire underneath the frame and bend this short piece over and under, over, through and under, over, through and under. Okay, so we've got 3 wire wraps. Can you see that? Okay, we push it almost to the top. Now at this point I don't like this guy sticking out because it just gets in the way a little bit, so I'll come in with my flush cutters. We can tidy things up a little bit later, but just get rid of that little straggler there because it is a bit of a pain. Okay, so here we have our 3 wraps. Okay, so push the wire so that it's coming up the other side, and then attach your first bead. Okay, bring your bead right on down to the end so that it's next to your frame. Okay, bring this long piece of wire underneath whilst keeping hold of the bead as best you can next to the frame and next to this small wrap that you've done first. Push the wire up through and then nice and tightly, whilst you're holding everything in place, wrap it round. Okay, then push it back through, over the top. Okay, things will jiggle around a bit to start with until you get more of an anchor. Do that 3 times so that you have 3 individual wraps in between each bead. Okay, can you see that? And then push it back through and over the top, ready for your next bead. Squish things up with your fingernails or your chain nose pliers. That's your first bead on, okay? Add your next bead. Okay, bring it right down to the end. So you're ready for your next one. Okay, so same as usual, keeping everything tight with these fingers here. Push your wire through and nicely and neatly and tightly make your first wrap. Okay, you do all of this with control and nice and slowly and deliberately, then you'll find that your wraps become quite neat. Okay, and again, so we have 3 wraps in between each bead. You can have as many as you like in between each bead. Actually, you can do 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. I like the way that this looks with 3 in between each one. Just think it looks nice and neat. But you can experiment yourself. Okay, one more. And up through. Keeping everything nice and neat and tight. Squish things up with your fingernails. Okay, next bead on. Bring it down to the frame. Okay. Keeping hold of the bead and the frame so that everything is nice and secure. Oops, losing my beads here. Never mind. It's okay, wrap it round once and up through the centre. Wrap it round again, up through the centre. Wrap it round again and up through the centre and pull through. Okay, that's your 3 wraps again. Okay, see it now, can you see each one is on nice and tightly and neatly. Okay, we'll just do one more and then I'll move all these beads out of the way because they're flying everywhere, typically. Okay, pop another bead on, down to the end. Ready for the next wrap. Okay, so again, keep everything nice and tight with your thumb, your fingers. Put your wire up through the centre, nice and neatly and tightly. Wrap it around the frame, up through the centre. Again, wrap it around, up through the centre. Wrap it around. Squish up as you're going, you know, squish the wire together. Keep everything neat and tidy as you're going along. Up through the centre and through. Okay, so can you see how we've got 3 wraps in between each of these? Okay, so keep going until you go all around your hoop, all around your frame, and I'll meet you at the back and we will finish off at this side here. Okay, see you in a couple of minutes. Okay guys, we're back. Hopefully you are now at this stage when you've wrapped all of your beads around. I've managed to spend about 10 minutes finding all of the little beads that I knocked on the floor. I'll have to bring a bead mat in next time. I'm sure I'm not the only one with a huge bead stash. That's literally every single day I find discarded beads all on the carpet and on the hard floors. Something that we all have to deal with, but never mind. Anyway, so there we are. Okay, so this is what we're left with. Okay, so let's pop on this last bead and do our last wrap. Okay, so the last one. Again, holding everything nice and securely. Pop your wire through, tightly round, up underneath and round, keeping everything nice and neat and taut. Okay, and up through and one last wrap. Okay, so there we are. This is what we're left with. Okay, so we need to turn the piece over and trim this little tiny piece of leftover wire. This is where you want to come in, if you can see that, and just secure the ends of the wire so that they are not sticking out. Now then, what you want to try and do is find the end of the wire and roll your pliers over the top of it, which is called burnishing. So if you hold the wire and move your pliers around like that tightly, what happens then is it flattens slightly the wire against the frame and burnishes the sharp point away. Okay, so it feels smooth to the touch. I hope I've described that effectively enough. Okay, so there we are. There's your first one. You want to go ahead and you can either use that as you could put a jump ring and use that as a pendant. That would look really, really pretty against the skin, I think. Don't you think? That'd be a really, really pretty pendant. Or you can make another one like I've done here to make two gorgeous earrings. I do like jewellery with negative space, actually. I think it's really effective. And these are really pretty in the ear, nice and light. And I hope you enjoy making those. Like I say, you can use these frames for all sorts of things. This guy is going to be a pendant with seed beads wrapped in a rainbow effect across the middle, like a rainbow, you know, in the centre. I like, and these are very popular when I do craft shows because they are just so simple, really, really, really simple to make. They go down a storm at craft shows because you can sell them relatively cheaply, affordably, and they're really, really pretty and light in the ear. Okay, so have fun making your frames. Use them for all sorts of things. Get your polymer clay out if you're a clayer, like me too, and use these frames for all sorts of different things. Go ahead and try making something like this too. I might even do a tutorial on these one day. So I hope you have a lot of fun. Let me know in the comments what you end up making, and I hope you have a lot of fun making them. And we'll see you in the next one. Have a good week, guys. Bye.